الله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله رب العالمين. Good morning, the press family here present. I wish to start by welcoming you to the SIS headquarters for this press briefing. But before delving into it, may I use this occasion to thank the SIS staff who accompanied me on this tour, and also all the security services and stakeholders who we are able to meet during this conducted tour. And I wish to once again thank the media for this opportunity and turning up to our invitation to have this media interface, through which we will be able to also report back to the Gambian people regarding the tour that just ended, taking 3 weeks. That said, I wish to report that, or start by saying, I started accompanied by members of the SIS on a 3-week tour of the country that started about 3 weeks ago. And the tour was meant to meet some objectives set from the start. In doing so, starting on the October 28th, we started in the North Bank region, starting in Bara, during which we met governors, heads of security services, district chiefs, local authorities, community leaders, youth and women, elders, other critical stakeholders like Tango, University of the Gambia, the Supreme Islamic Council, the National Livestock Association of the Gambia. These were the stakeholders we were able to meet over these 3 weeks. The aim of the tour was, one, to enhance the interagency collaboration and coordination and evaluate the national security landscape. 2, strengthen the implementation of the SIS flagship initiative called the National Security Belt Initiative, which is about the SIS strategic deployments across the country, designed to enhance intelligence collection, improve border security, ensure community safety, and bring security to the doorsteps of the people. 3, to engage and interact with critical stakeholders across the country. 4, foster trust. And 5, enhance the engagement with the media houses across the country. And we wish to report at this point that we are able to talk to at least 2 media houses in Kerewan and also at the Al-Fala Radio at the Supreme Islamic Council. The general assessment of the security landscape. The general assessment of the tour revealed that a general atmosphere of calm and stability exists across the country. There is also a strong interagency collaboration among the security services across the country, both on the North and the South Bank. We are also able to assess the public interest and improve trust in the security services and security system. Locations visited. All administrative regions of the Gambia have been visited. On the visits to military installations, we visited Njongun, Farafenye, Lamen Koto, Basse, Kudang, and Pakaliba. Gambia Police Force post visited SAO, Taiba, Yoroberikunda, Bondali, Sibanor, Somita. Gambia Fire and Rescue Services visited Basse and Bansang Fire Station. Gambia Immigration Department sites visited Amdalai, Kerali, Sabi, Senova, and Dasilame. Other locations visited to meet critical stakeholders and communities and opinion leaders include visits to Kercherno in Nyomi, Kuntaya in Nyomi, Kerewan, Daru Rilwan in Badibu, Arafa in Sierra East, Kaur, Janjambure, Yerobaul, Mankamang, Birkamaba, Sabi, Senoba, Jiboro, Dasilame, Sibanor, and for the first time the Kabadas, we visited Madina Angale, and also for the first time we also visited Badibu Sadikeja. Other critical national security stakeholders engaged during the talk: the Supreme Islamic Council, Tango, University of the Gambia, the National Human Rights Commission, and the National Association of Livestock Owners. Focus of the discussions. The discussions mainly centered on key messaging such as strengthening the inter-service collaboration and reinforcing commitment to human-centered security, as security must be felt, seen, and trusted at the grassroots level. The need to maintain peace and security through collaboration and cooperation between and among critical stakeholders and through information sharing, collaboration, coordination, joint patrols, restraint, discipline, measuredness, social cohesion, and harmony to encourage peaceful existence and responsible behaviors towards national security. The role of faith-based organization in maintaining peace, social harmony, stability, such as the Supreme Islamic Council and the Christian Council, in peace-building activities, preaching peace, collaboration in capacity development for Islamic scholars, and in terms of training and support across the country, as well as joint efforts to address challenges affecting peace-building activities, encourage interfaith dialogue, increase sensitization and awareness creation among communities across the country. At Tango, we discussed about the role and the complementary role, therefore, of the civil society organizations in the overall national security agenda. In this regard, both parties acknowledge the need to closely collaborate for the interests of peace and development, and it was therefore recognized development is peace and peace is development. Other areas of collaborations touch on training of security forces, among other things, on human rights and peace-building approaches to national security. Discussions at the University of the Gambia centered on strategic partnership in areas of capacity building, exchange of lecture visits between the UTG and SIS, sharing knowledge, experiences, and research outcomes, as well as conducting joint research endeavors on policy development, especially that which have to do with national security issues. Both institutions have committed in principle to solidify a strategic partnership through potential development of a framework of partnership between the UTG and us. For it is visible and widely, the UTG commended the SIS for its visible and widely recognized reforms and expressed commitment to strengthen the partnership. With the National Human Rights Commission, discussion centered on strategic collaboration and partnership in areas of human rights training and capacity improvement as human rights remains center of SIS reforms for continuous reorientation, resetting of the mindset and maintaining a professional standard at the workforce at the level of the SIS. Other areas of strategic partnership include training, mutual training in investigations, human rights between us and the NHCR. Especially using, or at this point, putting at the disposal of the cooperation framework the SIS Academy for Security Studies. The NHCR recognized and applauded the capacity building initiatives of the SIS and also commended the reforms agenda of the SIS broadly, recognizing that this is one of the TRRC recommendations. With NALWA, critical stakeholder discussion centered on strategic partnership for support and collaboration to improve community policing and manage cross-border livestock migration and the tensions and the conflicts that ensue from such movements of animals across the country, to mitigate its implication for the environment, forest cover, and farming activity. General feedback from the local communities and other critical stakeholders across the country. Community feedback indicated a growing trust in the SIS in particular and the security fraternity in general. The SIS reforms and reach-outs were highly commended and appreciated throughout the country. Local communities increasingly taking ownership of security issues and speaking to security issues themselves, such as initiating and pointing out what needs to be done to improve security in their areas, localities. There are also communities that attested to the fact that with the increase or the presence of securities in their communities, they feel safer. And in that respect, they're encouraging more deployment and more security presence across the country. Local communities and regional authorities and stakeholders calling for improvement and expedition of security legislations and bills to enhance the overall national security posture. Local communities raise issues of safety and suggesting locations needing more security presence and resource allocation to enable effective coverage. Community members describe this engagement as transformative, as many residents openly acknowledge past misconceptions about the intelligence service and expressing their profound appreciation for the current reforms of the SIS and commitment to human-centered national security dimensions. These are the reports on the objectives that we set ourselves to look into when we started the tour on the 28th of October. And these are the interactions we've had, the stakeholders we've met, the observations we've carried out, and the feedbacks that we have received from the communities across the country. Having said that, I would now crave your indulgence to shift the discussion or the press briefing to the SRS reforms over the years, 2017 to date. What we set ourselves to do and how we set ourselves to do it, especially the focus being the institutional strengthening of the State Intelligence Service as the premier intelligence service of the Gambia. A daunting task, I must say, at the beginning, but we are generally, must I say, and we touch wood, that we think we are out of the woods in general terms on our reforms. And again, we touch wood that we can say, and the attestations from the Gambian people and the feedbacks we've been receiving can say that the SRS is, if not the most, but one of the most reformed government institutions in this country. Again, we touch wood. And these are evident in the operations, in the capacity building, in our intelligence products, in our corporations, in our credibility, and the feedbacks we continue to receive from the Gambian people. As I said, when we set ourselves to these reforms that we are meant to recast, to recalibrate, to realign the SIS, and most importantly, to reposition it as the premier intelligence service of the country that could meet the national intelligence requirement of the Gambia government and the Gambian people. That was a calling we undertook. 8 years on, we are generally out of the woods and very clear-eyed, if you like it that way, and laser focus on carrying out our reforms and strengthening the national security environment of the Gambia. But how did we do this? Or how have we been doing this? Because the reforms is a continuous process, and at the start, we put the intelligence reforms at the center of changing the SRS from what it was to what it is today. I'm happy to recognize the presence of the Director of Reforms, Legal Affairs and Human Rights in our midst, who is also a legal practitioner. To start with, this is the first time we are ever having a legal practitioner and with a portfolio on reforms, human rights, and the general reforms agenda of the service. So 4 pillars informed our institutional strengthening. We didn't bury our heads in the sand. We appreciated that we need to reform, and we identify key pillars of reforms, which were the capacity building of this SRS staff. The other one is to enhance the security operations and presence and deployments of the service so that we are able to collect actionable and reliable intelligence. Again, we can, and I'm sure you can also attest to that fact, that ken wahud nye yen kay fen rek ay ke la moy SAS la wol bu ka toña fo. I think our product, we touch wood again. If it is a check, take it to the bank, you'll find the money. And that is the level of aspiration we set ourselves to. So in that regard, we knew the pillars, or we identified 4 pillars: capacity building, enhanced security operations, credible, actionable, reliable intelligence products. So be they our reports, be they our assessments, be they our briefs, be they our telephone calls we make to provide briefs, they must be reliable. They must be actionable. The consumers of our products, we set ourselves, must have confidence in receiving our products and acting on them, knowing that the reports are credible. And the fourth pillar of the reforms has been international and domestic cooperation with partners, home and abroad, with partners like the media. And we, at this point, want to acknowledge the excellent cooperation and media partnership that exists between the SIS and the media fraternity across this country. The confidence building has generally been overwhelmingly successful 8 years on. So talking about the capacity building pillar, about the institutional strengthening pillar one. When we took over, we knew we need to build capacity. And we had a deliberate and open approach to building capacity in almost all fields, because the national intelligence requirements require intelligence in all fields, and therefore we needed capacity in all fields. So far, we've produced nearly 20 master's holders in these 8 years in various fields such as peace and security, forensics, law, public administration, management, gender, development studies, human resources management, intelligence, security, policy studies, and the list goes on. That's at the master's level. And at this point, will I say, if you permit me to say, it may be just a PhD that we have not yet produced, but hopefully very soon we'll have PhD holders in the intelligence service. That's our aspiration. And again, accompanying this capacity building is for the first time building a full functional academy for the SIS that we call the State Intelligence Service Academy for Security Studies. We have 7 fellows specialized in peace and security studies. We call them the FSIs, and my PA, I'm happy to and proud to mention him as one of our FSI products, who is immensely contributing, among the others, to the success of the SIS over the years. We have produced over 23 bachelor's holders, 5 higher national diploma holders in public health, higher diplomas in nursing, advanced in education, advanced diplomas in education, diploma holders in other fields, postgraduates, certificate holders. 7 staff are currently pursuing master's degrees in Africa, Europe, and the Asias. And a staff is currently pursuing his second master's abroad. Notwithstanding the continuous professional training that is ongoing, both at home and abroad, in various areas of specialization, will be a momentum that the SIS would want to maintain and sustain. Enhance operation. To refocus the strategic reforms to human security, the SIS embarked on continuous restructuring, recalibrating, rebranding, and repositioning of the service to meet contemporary security challenges. The National Security Belt Initiative, which is an initiative, a brainchild of the SIS over these years, that we are rolling out, reviewing, improving on as we implement it across the country. So speaking in metaphorical terms, when we talk of the NASB, we call it the NASB, and in Wolof translation, it means nasal. So Mandinko coming for Kasuri, the Fulas will say it Yupugol. So we have zoned the Gambia as a West, metaphorically speaking, and we need to run security deployments from Bara to Fatoto to Kato, and following the border lines, and of course, engaging with the communities within the country and along the borderline. So this is our NASB concept. And it's been accompanied, the concept has been accompanied by deployments and building of infrastructure and deployment of SIS operatives along with other national sister service security agencies across the country. And this has enhanced the security posture and the security presence of security and intelligence officers or operatives across the country to the approval of the Gambian people and the Gambian communities. The testimonies that we receive from communities during our tour are a clear indication of the already dividends or benefits of this NASB initiative that we have been deploying across the country. Communities have welcomed it. Communities have invited the SIS, come and stay with us, build your offices in the community and stay with us. And I think that in itself is an overall objective of the SSR process, which is about human-centered security, a paradigm shift from state-centric approach to national security, putting this time the human security at the center of the reforms, which therefore means getting security to the doorsteps of the Gambian and Gambian communities. Human rights considerations. So our reforms have also centered on enhancing our operations as an intelligence service. The HRBA, as I was reminded at Tango and the National Human Rights Commission, as an approach to security operation, putting the people at the center, their human rights at the center of national security operation, was also something we took on board as we enhance our security. So in short, our security operations are purely intelligence-based collections. Our operations are very much intelligence-focused. We don't have business to do day in, day out with things that are not related to intelligence. Yes, we can collect, but if it is meant for the police, we'll pass the reports on to the police. If it is meant for the customs and GRA, we'll pass it on to them. If it is meant for the military, we'll pass it on to them. The same for the immigration. And if it is meant for public officials and government officials, we'll also pass it on to them. So the exercise, we have set ourselves to not only cut on them, but to cut them off. To cut them off from our operation, that anything that doesn't have to do with intelligence matters are expunged from our operations. Again, the attestations we've received, the testimonies we received from stakeholders, for instance, the National Human Rights Commission, their annual report has never so far indicated any violations done by the SIS over these years. Again, we thank Allah for His mercies and guidance in carrying out the reforms in that agenda. The third pillar would be on our analysis products, our reports product. We make sure before we pass our reports on to the consumers, they are actionable, they are reliable, they are credible, they are dependable. And as I was saying metaphorically, if it is a check, take it to the bank, you will find cash. That's the level of credibility that we placed on the products of our SIS. And that's the mindset with which our operatives and officers across the country and working at headquarters have also been working with that mindset to make sure that anything that leaves the SIS for consumers, they must be able to act on it reliably and without any disrepute to the consumer or the SIS in return. So far, so good. It's been that way. And as an intelligence service, of course, most important part of what you do is the analysis of situations, is the assessment of situations, because that is what goes to the consumers, to the recipients of the reports, to be able to make informed policy or operational decisions on matters that affects the national security or national interests of the Gambia, both home and abroad. And our enhanced analysis product, our credible products, so far, alhamdulillah, has really been supportive in government, both at the domestic and at the foreign policy level. Be they about Gambians abroad, in distress, in conflict zones, the SIS had stepped up to provide actionable intelligence. Be it in crisis zones, the SIS has been able to provide advice and intelligence report for appropriate government offices to take action. Be it domestic issues, our advisories have been found useful among government officials to be able to inform and chart out ways in resolution of sometimes situations that would demand an advisory of the SIS to take forward. Again, coming back to our product, our analysis product, and this was an aspiration we set ourselves, because as an advisory institution of government, we cannot do less. We cannot also do otherwise. We cannot provide half-baked intelligence reports. We cannot provide incomplete intelligence reports. But most importantly, we shouldn't, and have not so far, provide inactionable intelligence report that the decision maker cannot use to make an informed decision regarding his sector. The fourth pillar of the SIS reform has been our international cooperation and partnership. Today, again, we touch wood at this point. I think the SIS is highly, not I think, in fact, I believe. Our cooperation is at an unprecedented level throughout the world. Throughout the world, we've gone into uncharted waters. We've gone into uncharted areas. We've gone into parts of the world that before we are not also part of the SIS partnership framework. And this has paid off. With the partnerships, we are able to develop more capacity, build more resources. And with this partnership, our credible intelligence also matter to them, because they will want to know what is happening in the West Africa region. And we've got a credible partner in the Gambia, in the SIS. Can we contact them? And they've always found us handy, ready, and available, and able to meet their intelligence requirements in the framework of the partnership that exists. So that has increased our capacity. Our capacity has reflected in the training, and it has also reflected in the analysis product, because the capacities we're now developing are the capacities that become our operatives in the field, our field officer, our directors in the office, our analysts, our chief analysts, our director of analysis, working with the operation wing. And I'm happy to also state, in the framework of our enhanced operations and reforms, overall reforms agenda, we have for the first time a female assistant director general, who is almost the number 4 in the setup of the agency, responsible for the internal intelligence requirements and activities and operations of the SIS throughout the Gambia. So again, speaking of the reforms, this is unprecedented. It's never happened. Again, in the overall scheme of things and the reforms agenda of the SIS, in the passing of Mariatu, Madam Mariatu Janko. So in short, this is the reforms agenda and the key pillars. Or the key pillars are not standalone pillars. they are interlocking, self-reinforcing pillars. The capacity, as I said, built goes to inform inform and help the operation. The operations, if it is good, the collection is good, it is good for the analysis. If the analyses are good, government can take good decisions, or other consumers, be it government or non-government actors, can also make good decisions. And it comes back to the credibility of the service, and again, the service's contribution to the national security environment and enhancing the national security situation in the country. That said, I would say at this point that's the end of the press briefing, which has been on two pillars, or on two strands. That is to provide a briefing, and a press briefing for that matter, on the just ended 3 weeks national tour of the country undertaken by the Office of the Director General, accompanied by various directors from the SIS headquarters, to see what the situation as it obtains in the country is. And I wish to again at this point thank them for being very useful in the field. And must I say, when we set ourselves on this tour, we all committed ourselves to work in the field away from the office. So all of them that accompanied me were respectively doing their work along the Director General in the assessment, be it in the assessment of our field operatives, our field operations, our logistics requirements, our operatives requirement, etc., in the field. So, and it has, at this point, helped inform the service all the more, and hopefully we will soon conclude the report of the tour, use internally what is meant for us, but also disseminate to the appropriate consumers what is meant for the external consumers, be it mostly in government, or be it in the security services, sister services. On that note, I wish to once again thank you, and I bring you greetings from the media fraternity in Kerawan, that I had almost 1 hour of a community engagement talk show with them during this tour. On that note, I wish to thank you very much, and use this medium to thank the Gambians for the trust and support that they continue to render and extend to the SIS. I couldn't finish without also thanking our sister security services and the Gambia government as a whole for the continuous support and trust that has been extended to the SIS. On that note, I thank you very much, and thank you once again. Frameworks are good, because there are other agencies abroad. They will not accept you to be friends with them if your human rights record is not good. We know that among our intelligence peers, or our intelligence services peers. So if it is to tick a box, I think we've ticked almost all the boxes to not only build a current intelligence service for the Gambia, but a futuristic intelligence that infuses all the current, emerging, and imminent challenges. But again, sustain, yes, but the environment will also dictate the direction of the intelligence, because you will have matters that we are not prepared for, situations that we are not ready for, and then you have to incline and readjust your sail, if you like it that way, to meet those new security challenges in the environment. Yes, sir.
man dégg nga ñu ne SAS jàpp nañ kenn comme ni ñu ko doon faral di déggee loolu est-ce que nit ñi ban gis-gis ngeen jàpp ne lañ ci am ci tool bi nga xam ne yéen ko amoon ndax ñu ngi wax ne ndax yéen a ngi def seen liggéey o ndax soppeeku mu am ci li nga xam ne noonu ngeen doon liggéey.
jërëjëf si laajte bi loolu nekk na mbir boo xam ne o wax boo xam ne dañ ko dégga depuis baara ba fatooto ba daasilaame ñu ngi koo dégga ne soppeeku biñ jël ak taxawaay biñ jël si service bi pour soppi service bi def ko service yi nit yi loolu nit yi kontaan nañ si torop te wone nañ si seen xalaat yu dëgër ak seen cofeel si doxalin boobu ñun yëg nañ ne loolu sax balaa ñu doon dem waaye gën nañoo gëmal ne li ñoo def ndekete ñu ngi si yoon parce que léegi ku nekkaa mu ñoo gis ku nekkaa ngay ñëw di waxtaan ak ñun li ñoo wax di si angale bu njëkka dañ ñu doon daw waaye léegi ku am ite sax dina daw si ñëw SAS seet na fi am xalaat oo na fi mun a am dimbal oo na fi mun a am ibi bunta pour soxla jooju faju te yëpp si yokkute dëkk bi la ak kaarange dëkk bi si boobu la féetu so kon loolu def ñu gën a encourage pour ñu gën a taxaw si liñ nekka yooka du doy nag waaye we are committed pour continuer loolu di momentum biñ jéen we cannot afford the bars liñ dee wax in English the bars to fall the bars are so highly raised te momentum boobu inshallah si ndimbali Yàlla dinañ si gën a taxaw suñ diggante nit yi parce que ñun nit yi la ñoo liggéeyal soo déggee aar dëkka koy aar nit yi ngay aar kon nit yi suñ demee ba gëstu gis ne doxalin bi soppeeku na seen cofeel yokku na si agency bi seen bugga yokku na si agency bi am na yeneen béréb yu ñu dem nit yi di ñoo xaar ba guddi taxut ñu ñoo xaar time boobu koo ne xëj na koo ne ñu ngee ñëw xëy na timis du fa ko fekk sax wax bala guddi waaye jërëjëf si laajte bi I hope I've answered your question. Yes, ma'am.
The first is relating to the international cooperations with partners that you have mentioned. And the question reads, with the Gambia playing a significant role in the work of CISSA in recent years, what is the role of SIS in the activities of CISA and other international organizations? And two, how critical is the improvement of capacity development in expanding the work of SIS now? And the final one would be, there is so much happening when it comes to the cyberspace today. How is SIS repositioning itself to deal with these emerging threats? Thank you.
Thank you. I thank you for your questions. Talking on CISA, I wish to state that SIS, then NIA, was a founding member of the CISA in 2004. So from the onset, the Gambia's intelligence service was already part of the SIS, was part of the CISA framework. And we've attended most of the conferences that are continentally held regionally every year. The last one this year was done in Libya, where we participated. And the Gambia, the intelligence, the region of CISA are divided into the 5 regions of the continent with a regional chair, which, as I said, the Gambia had chaired twice. But again, when we went to Libya this year, members did prevail on Gambia to not even be the chair, but also to be the vice chair. So currently, we are the vice chair of the CISA. And CISA has a secretariat in Ethiopia, in Addis, that provides advisory role and intelligence assessments to the chairman of the African Union. So the CISA regional headquarters or secretariat sits in ECOWAS at Addis Ababa, providing support. So the SIS is very much involved in CISA. And will I also say that our standing even on our assessed contributions, the SIS had inherited some financial situation on our contribution, but as of last year, we were at zero assessed contribution depth as far as our contribution to the CISA conference is concerned. That is a big, our voice has become therefore stronger in the CISA discussions as a result of us not being indebted. If there is any debt, maybe it may be this year's assessed contribution. But that's our standing, and we support CISA, we associate with CISA, we attend CISA meetings at all times because we believe CISA is necessary for the political establishment in Africa at the level of AU, but at the regional level, at the level of the REX, the regional economic grouping, like ECOWAS, SADC, ECA, the one in East Africa, and the one in North Africa. So that's our standing in CISA. On capacity building, we wish to sustain and continue the capacity building. And again, it will be defined by the environment. It's become all the more true that we need more capacity to be aligned towards the AI world. Today, the cyberspace is one of the most difficult space to monitor. It brings its goods, of course. It brings its positives, but it also remains as a challenge. And the misinformation, the disinformation, the malinformation is a constant on the cyberspace. And intelligence services cannot afford to be beaten in this race. We are already aligned, but we will be more aligned because I'm sure the challenges will not become lesser, and we will aspire to become better at all times because the challenges are not going to get lesser. We as a service needs to be ahead of things, to be better and stronger at all times, ahead of the challenges. Thank you.